I just got done reading a very interesting book. The book is called The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Essentially, this book covers the perspectives that people take when it comes to measuring their progress in life, particularly when it comes to success. So the book defines the gap as the perspective of measuring where you currently are against the ideal of where you want to be or how you want things to be. And the gain is when you measure where you are compared to where you started. This book I really enjoyed a lot. Very, very wonderful read. And it's something very relevant, particularly in this space of entrepreneurship, self-improvement, that oftentimes, no matter how much you achieve or the progress that you're making, the achievements that you're working towards, or how hard you work, you always compare yourself to what you see in Instagram or even here on YouTube, where you're comparing yourself to channels with millions of subscribers, accounts with millions of followers, etc. And it never feels that you're actually making progress towards a goal. In this case, just building an audience, right? But it's something that occurs really in every area of life. When it comes to, let's say, relationships, focusing on let's say, the things that your partner doesn't do or the things you wish your partners did differently, instead of appreciating the good things that they actually do. Same with material possessions. There's been times, or there was a time actually, where a lot of the things that you currently have were dreams and aspirations of a previous version of yourself. And yet we get used to things so fast that we're already comparing ourselves to what the next apartment is going to look like, what the next car is that we're going to get, how much we're going to make in the future, what's the next job, etc. The book was very, let's say, I don't want to say eye-opening, but it's really good to just remind myself that whether you decide to focus on the gain and appreciate your progress, or focus on the gap, focus on the things that you lack, it ultimately comes down to your habits. You can train yourself to focus on either or. And I've caught myself doing this many times where I'm always comparing myself to people who maybe are ahead of me or have achieved certain things that I haven't achieved yet. And it's easy for me to forget what I've actually accomplished or how much I've actually grown in the past, let's say 2 years, 4 years, 10 years even. And something that personally has helped me a lot, and it's something that I really wish I had started doing sooner, is keeping a journal or diary, whatever you want to call it, but essentially keeping registers, keeping record of everything that I'm doing or that I have done, even if it's a small win or a big win, but just being able to quickly look at them, reference them, whenever I feel that I'm falling into the gap or getting stuck into a state of mind where I feel that I'm not making the progress that I want to be making. It's good to reference that, because then it reminds me, it brings me back to baseline and reminds me that I should actually be measuring backwards, measuring where I started to where I am now, instead of measuring where I am to where I want to be. Because the thing about an ideal is, it's an ideal, it's perfect, it's no errors, no faults whatsoever, and by definition, you can't achieve an ideal. So that's something that has helped me, especially since I implemented what I call the life operating system, where I track everything, daily tracking, weekly reviews, monthly reviews. I have a section where I not only track just how I'm staying consistent with my habits, but also taking note of any significant milestones that I make, whether they be personal, business related, how many YouTube videos I record, etc. Because even on my channel, for example, sometimes in general, when it's a big channel, let's say someone that I also enjoy consuming content, and I look to see their oldest videos and I see they've been posting for like 8 years, 10 years, and nowadays they have millions of subscribers, For some reason, I enjoy watching the old videos more. It's more relatable, of course, but it's also just a reminder that they didn't start at 1 million. They worked their way up there. And when I look at my oldest videos, my first few videos, I just look at how everything has changed, or the little things that I have changed over time that I've experimented with, starting with probably the most obvious one. Number one, my confidence on camera. And second, just the way that I speak, the way that I can talk without stuttering, even if I have to take small pauses, but being very intentional about that. And that was achieved through practice, which at a point when I was starting to make content, that was something that I was very, very self-conscious about, but now I've completely eliminated. And it's something that at least historically I can look at through YouTube, but I also can reference my notes, my tracking. Keeping a physical journal is something that I also used to do. I don't anymore, but at times there were instances where I would log like daily entries to myself, just like a journal. I would write the date and then write down, just dump all of my thoughts into the journal. I used the Moleskine book back in the day for my journaling. And it was also, or I found it very useful at times where I still keep the journals. Actually, I have them right here. And it's times where I just skim through it and I see the dates and I just transport myself to that particular day, and I kind of remember how I was feeling, what I was going through, what I was thinking, and then immediately come back to present day and just, wow, a lot has changed since then. There's been a lot of progress, things that didn't go the way I planned, but things that did go the way I planned, etc. And it's good to always have that perspective and remind myself, mainly for myself, to remember to measure backward, measure from the starting point and not the goal. So that's something that I found has been extremely valuable to me, just tracking, keeping a log, no matter how small the win is. Because when I started, to me, a small win was just like keeping track if I worked out, if I read 10 pages. That's the basics. That's how I started. Now, of course, I measure a lot of other things, much more, let's say, significant metrics. But the premise is still the same, right? Just based on your starting point, measure a level up, measure where you're trying to get to, and then compare to where you started. So yeah, that's my message for today. Really great book. I'm gonna leave the link down below if you guys wanna check it out. So far, I've read a few books by Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy. I've loved every single one of them. So feel free to check out his other books. There's another one called Who Not How, changes your mindset when it comes to delegation specifically. So also another great book. And Personality Isn't Permanent. I haven't read that one yet, but that's also another one that I'll be reading soon. But yeah, that's the message for today. Really great book. Always focus or just becoming aware of what state of mind you're operating in, whether it's the gap or the gain. Make note of it. Focus on what you have. Focus on where you are compared to where you started. Don't focus on what you are lacking. And that is the message for today. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. And as always, I will catch you on the next one.